The moment my husband, Officer Shen Xiaoxing, slapped me to the ground while trying to save his benefactor, Song Kuo, when I was 3 months pregnant, after 8 years of devotedly adoring Shen Xiaoxing, I suddenly woke up. I calmly went to the hospital to terminate the pregnancy, severing the last tie with Shen Xiaoxing. A year later, Shen Xiaoxing finally remembered me, his so-called pregnant wife. He came to my door carrying a large bag of gifts, wanting to see me and his child. I laughed. You divorced me and married another woman. Why would I want to keep your child to disgust myself? I was reborn. I was reborn on the day when my husband, Officer Shen Xiaoxing, used the money he saved for me to have a child to buy appliances for his lifesaver, Song Kuo. Looking at the large TV, refrigerator, and washing machine being moved into the house next door belonging to Song Kuo, I realized that the money I had saved for having a baby had disappeared. It felt like a bolt from the blue. I went to find Shen Xiaoxing to ask for clarification, but I saw Song Kuo sweetly leaning in his arms. Seeing my husband being so intimate with another woman made me tremble with anger. I stepped forward to question Shen Xiaoxing about where my money had gone, and the sweetly leaning Song Kuo in his arms answered me. Xiaoxing gave me all the money to buy appliances. Looking at Song Kuo's smug face, I was furious to the extreme. How can you be so shameless? You don't earn money yourself, but think about spending someone else's. Song Kuo cried until her face was a mess, and Shen Xiaoxing's eyes turned red with anger, forcing me to apologize. How could I possibly apologize? Ever since Shen Xiaoxing transferred Song Kuo to the military district to be his confidential secretary, everything has changed dramatically. Shen Xiaoxing frequently goes out of his way to help Song Kuo. It's common for him to assist her in buying rice and flour. Song Kuo has a headache and a fever, and Shen Xiaoxing is always there for her. Even when it's thundering in the middle of the night, she can wrap herself in a blanket and knock on the door to call Shen Xiaoxing to accompany her. As for my wife of 3 years, Shen Xiaoxing treats me like air. Anger and grievance filled my heart, especially when I saw Song Kuo shamelessly leaning into Shen Xiaoxing's arms in front of me. My anger intensified. You two shameless dogs, with your illicit relationships, I will report you to the military district leaders. As my words fell, Shen Xiaoxing suddenly struck me hard with a slap. I was knocked to the ground by the slap, my head hitting heavily against the cabinet in Song Kuo's house. Blood gushed out, and as I lay on the ground, a series of unbelievable experiences surged through my mind like a tide. It turned out that Shen Xiaoxing not only gave all the money I saved for having a child to Song Kuo, but also used it to buy home appliances. He even gave the house allocated to me by my unit to Song Kuo. Crying and making a fuss did no good at all. Song Kuo is malicious and despicable, constantly plotting against me. Meanwhile, Shen Xiaoxing blindly believed Song Kuo, after being set up by her once again. He used the excuse that his elderly parents needed care to send me back to his hometown, thousands of miles away, to take care of them. I worked tirelessly in the countryside, giving birth and taking care of his parents, eagerly waiting for the day we could reunite, just like waiting for the stars and the moon. Shen Xiaoxing's career grew bigger and bigger, yet he never thought to bring me back. It wasn't until his parents passed away one after another that I went to find Shen Xiaoxing and realized that I had long since lost any connection with him. We had already divorced and become strangers since he sent me back to the countryside. After sending me away, he couldn't wait to marry Song Kuo and held a grand wedding for her. He and Song Kuo have been inseparable and loving for years. Since Song Kuo cannot have children, the child I painstakingly raised has become their child. When the aging and haggard me came to their door, Shen Xiaoxing avoided me, and Song Kuo brought my biological son to see me. The glamorous Song Kuo threw a stack of money at me as if I were trash. Mu Nian, all these years, Xiaoxing has only used you as a free nanny. I am his rightful legal wife. So you should go wherever you came from. My son, who is connected to me by blood, said, "Mom, look at what you've become. You no longer deserve Dad. Just take the money and leave. I will send you money for your living expenses every month, but I have one request: don't ever show up in front of our family again. My life has turned into a joke, dressed up by others. The man I loved treated me like a free maid, and even my biological son despised me. in a fit of anger and despair. I spat blood and died. The events of my past life and the present alternated in my mind as I lay on the ground, staring directly at Shen Xiaoxing and Song Kuo. Perhaps the hatred and anger in my eyes were too intense. Shen Xiaoxing, who was busy comforting the crying Song Kuo, finally allowed himself to glance at me, lying on the ground and bleeding, looking at my swollen face and bleeding forehead. Shen Xiaoxing was stunned. He finally remembered that I was a pregnant woman, and Shen Xiaoxing let go of the crying Song Kuo to help me. Hatred filled my heart, and I used all my strength to shake off his hand that was trying to support me. Get away. Shen Xiaoxing didn't leave. Instead, he helped me up from the ground and said, "You're bleeding. I'll take you to the hospital to get it treated. Did you not hear me when I told you to get lost? If it weren't for your nonsense, I wouldn't have acted out. I was just really angry just now. This is all your fault. Let's go to the hospital to treat the wound first, and we can talk about apologies later." He said this while ignoring my struggles and forcibly held me in his arms, preparing to take me to the hospital. At that moment, Song Kuo suddenly collapsed softly onto the ground. Seeing Song Kuo faint, Shen Xiaoxing immediately let go of me and rushed towards her. Kuo, what's wrong? Wake up. Do you know that Kuo has a heart condition and can't be stimulated? It's all your fault," he shouted at me in a fit of rage and called for the guards. Xiao Li, drive to the hospital immediately." Shen Xiaoxing rushed out with Song Kuo in his arms. His bodyguard Xiao Li heard the commotion and quickly drove over. Shen Xiaoxing instructed the bodyguard to drive as soon as he got into the car with Song Kuo, completely forgetting about my bleeding forehead. The car roared away, and I wiped the blood dripping from my forehead, unsteadily returning to the house next door. After bandaging my bleeding forehead in front of the mirror, I quietly began to recall my previous life. In my previous life, after Shen Xiaoxing hit me, he similarly ignored my bleeding and only cared about the fainting Song Kuo. I was both angry and resentful, and rushed to the hospital to cause a scene. The consequence of this was that Song Kuo had a heart attack and lay in the hospital for half a month. Meanwhile, I was placed under house arrest by Shen Xiaoxing. Because I was pregnant, Shen Xiaoxing did not confine me, but arranged for guards to watch me 24 hours a day. The guard named Xiao Li is from the same hometown as Song Kuo, and they are like two peas in a pod. He was duplicitous and treated me roughly, giving me only one meal a day, consisting of 2 hard buns and cold water. By the time Song Kuo was discharged from the hospital, I was so starved that I looked emaciated, with skin stretched tightly over my bones. Xiao Li said I would go on a hunger strike and refuse to eat or drink, and Shen Xiaoxing believed it to be true. When he sees me, there is not a shred of comfort, only scolding me, cursing me for not knowing how to repent, telling me to hurry up and die if I want to. He even warned me, saying that a shrew like me, who makes a fuss, is not worthy of being his wife, and if I continue to make trouble, he will divorce me. I am deeply in love with Shen Xiaoxing, and when I heard he wanted a divorce, I was instantly dumbfounded. In order to prevent Shen Xiaoxing from divorcing me, I no longer dare to cause trouble. However, my tolerance cannot change anything. Song Kuo comes to provoke me every few days, flaunting how much Shen Xiaoxing cares for her and likes her. I was so angry at Song Kuo's words that I inevitably got into another argument with her. Song Kuo has once again set me up. She rolled down the steps herself and accused me of pushing her. Song Kuo is hospitalized again, this time claiming that I pushed her down and injured her uterus, making it impossible for her to have children. I explained to Shen Xiaoxing that I did not push Song Kuo. She is slandering me and staging this herself, but Shen Xiaoxing does not believe me. He told me that I would face prison for intentionally hurting someone. I was terrified, but later Shen Xiaoxing contacted me again, saying that he had used his connections to help me avoid going to prison. Shen Xiaoxing asked me to return to the countryside to take care of his parents, saying that after I gave birth and things settled down, he would bring me back. I had no choice but to agree to Shen Xiaoxing's suggestion, and on the day I left, he had me sign an apology agreement. I believe Shen Xiaoxing signed the so-called apology agreement and then sent me to the countryside. This departure lasted for more than 30 years. At first, I planned to return to Shen Xiaoxing's side after giving birth, But his mother suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and is paralyzed in bed, needing care. In order to fulfill my filial duty to Shen Xiaoxing, I had no choice but to continue staying in the countryside. Over the past 30 years, Shen Xiaoxing has only returned a few times to visit his parents. His son was also taken to his side for care, under the pretext of relieving my burden. I only learned the truth just before I died. The so-called apology agreement I signed back then was actually a divorce agreement, less than 3 months after Shen Xiaoxing took me to the countryside. He married Song Kuo. He even held a grand wedding for Song Kuo. From then on, I was treated as a free old servant and wasted over 30 years. Thinking of this makes my teeth itch with hatred. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't want to be that old servant. Anyway, I won't do it anymore. I want to get rid of the wretched child with a wolf's heart and a dog's lungs. Since Shen Xiaoxing wants to divorce me, I will grant him that, in this life. I want to leave this pair of dog men and women and walk my own path. Since I have to leave, I need to make preparations in advance. I need to secure some benefits for myself first. The money I saved for having a baby has already been given by Shen Xiaoxing to Song Kuo to buy home appliances. There isn't much money left at home now, but next month is Shen Xiaoxing's birthday, and I have prepared a watch as a birthday gift for him. I can sell the watch first. Also, my salary hasn't been paid this month, and I won't be handing over my salary. I also prepared a pair of gold rings with Shen Xiaoxing when we got married, filled with joy, but he found them childish and never wore them. Now it's convenient for me to take the rings out and sell them. Calculating this way, I can still get back 1,000 or so yuan, which is enough for me to have an abortion and recover. The urgent matter now is the house allocated by my workplace. In my previous life, Shen Xiaoxing directly gave the house allocated by my workplace to Song Kuo, and there won't be such good fortune in this life. I need to sell the house first to get some money. I rushed to the office with my watch and gold ring, disregarding the injury on my head and my appearance. When I came over looking like this, the leader was very surprised and asked. I didn't say much, just told the leader, I need money right now, and I plan to transfer the house assigned to me. Please help me keep an eye on it. The price is negotiable. I am a nice person at work, and I have a good relationship with both the leaders and colleagues. The leader agreed to help me ask around, so I took the watch and gold ring to sell. The watch was brand new and unused, and I happened to meet a couple getting married. So I sold it for 50 yuan less than what I bought it for. I pawned the ring, which weighed a total of 18 grams, for less than 1,000 yuan. With the money from the watch and ring, I went to the hospital and directly approached an obstetrician to explain my purpose. I have been married to Shen Xiaoxing for 5 years, and I have not gotten pregnant because I worry about seeing the doctor frequently. The doctor is very familiar with me and, seeing that I want to terminate the pregnancy, earnestly advised me against it. I had made up my mind, but in the end, the doctor still refused to perform the surgery for me. She asked me to get Shen Xiaoxing's signature for the surgery. As he is now a leader, if I were to terminate Shen Xiaoxing's child without his signature, she would be implicated and face consequences. I feel very bad that the child was not taken care of. On the way back, I was planning how to get Shen Xiaoxing to sign. In my past life, Song Kuo slandered me, saying I pushed her down and injured her uterus, making her unable to have children. Because of this, Shen Xiaoxing divorced me and married Song Kuo. In this life, I will not wait for Song Kuo to scheme against me first. I will take the initiative to solidify this matter and make Shen Xiaoxing divorce me voluntarily. As long as the marriage is dissolved, that heartless and ungrateful spawn will naturally turn into a pool of blood. Shen Xiaoxing returned at 9 o'clock in the evening. I had already eaten, drunk, washed up, and lay down. In a daze, I felt something brushing against my face, and an inexplicable sense of disgust and hatred arose. I raised my hand and slapped it. With a loud smack, my palm felt hot, and I was completely awake. The clear fingerprints appearing on Shen Xiaoxing's face were undoubtedly left by me. At this moment, Shen Xiaoxing looked at me with a pale face and said, "Mu Nian Nian, have you gone crazy?" Having known Shen Xiaoxing for 10 years, I have always been gentle, considerate, and flattering towards him. It's easy to imagine how Shen Xiaoxing felt after suddenly receiving a slap. I rubbed my numb hand and said, I just fell asleep and dreamed I was being chased. I couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality, so I acted. Shen Xiaoxing naturally wouldn't believe my explanation, and I had no intention of making him believe me, he huffed. I just wanted to see what your injury looked like, yet you pretended to be crazy and hit me. Mu Nyan Nyan, you really are something. Looking at the fingerprints on his face, I felt a bit regretful. I really wasn't pretending to be crazy. If I had known it was him touching my face, I should have slapped him a few more times. Over there, Shen Xiaoxing's anger deepened when he saw that I wasn't speaking. You actually went to sleep without waiting for me. You didn't even make dinner. I thought you weren't coming back. As for dinner, didn't you eat with Song Kua? Don't you two often have dinner together? A sheepish expression flashed across Shen Xiaoxing's face. I shouldn't have hit you today. I was confused and angry in a moment of desperation. To be honest, you were too much today. You clearly knew I was just helping Song Kua out of gratitude, and you knew she had a heart condition, yet you still said that about her. He was continuing to hold me accountable. And I coldly stared at Shen Xiaoxing's handsome face. Before I awakened to the truth, before I knew what despicable things he would do to me, I could not get enough of his handsome face. Now that I know what will happen next, I find that his face is increasingly disgusting. Shen Xiaoxing noticed I was silent and softened his tone. Kua has been wronged because of you. You should apologize to her tomorrow, and we can let this matter go. What if I don't apologize, if you make a mistake? You have to admit it. Don't you know this principle? I want to know what I did wrong. You took my savings without asking. Don't I have the right to ask for it back? How about this? Let's say the money is a loan from me to you. You have to pay back what you borrowed. You returned everything I lent you before, right? After being confronted by me repeatedly, Shen Xiaoxing's expression became extremely awkward. His salary, which he had to give to his parents and Song Kua, was already gone. Otherwise, he wouldn't need to use my money. Shen Xiaoxing took the initiative to grab my hand, trying to coax me tenderly. I shook him off and said, Shen Xiaoxing, let's be clear, helping Song Kua is your business, and I won't interfere anymore. But you must return every single cent of my money. Previously, when he used my money, I never said anything, which led Shen Xiaoxing to take it for granted. Now seeing me seriously, he touched his nose and said, Nyan Nyan. We are one as a couple. There is no such thing as being one as a couple. From now on, if you want to repay me, I won't stop you. I can promise not to cause any trouble with Song Kua again, and I won't make any comments about your relationship. Just one thing, you need to return my money to me. Shen Xiaoxing looked at me intently and asked, what do you mean? The literal meaning, from now on, we each go our own way. If you want to take care of Song Kua, you do it yourself. Don't drag me into it. I have no responsibility or obligation to help you take care of Song Kua. In the past, every time I got angry and threw a tantrum, as long as Shen Xiaoxing said a few soft words to coax me, I would immediately reconcile with him as if nothing had happened. This sudden change in difference from before made Shen Xiaoxing's expression darken. Mu Nian, do you know what you're saying? You are a military wife. Helping those in need is what you should do. Then why haven't I seen you care about other people in need? There are many more people around who are in need of help than Song Kua. Why don't you help them? Being retorted like this, Shen Xiaoxing was left with no face. He sneered coldly with a dark expression. What are you making a fuss about again? I've already said that I have nothing to do with Song Kua. She saved me back then, and I was just repaying her. I've heard this countless times. My ears are getting calloused. I interrupted him directly. Enough, I'm not interested in your relationship with Song Kua, and I won't care anymore. I only have one request. Give me my money back. How can the money that's been given away come back? Don't make a fuss. I'll tell you, I know what's bothering you and it's just jealousy, right? I've explained it so many times. Why won't you listen? Shen Xiaoxing was already very impatient, and his tone became much more serious. Mu Nyan Nyan. You'd better keep your little thoughts to yourself. I will continue to help Song Kua with her matters. If you don't behave and continue to disturb the peace at home, don't blame me for being ruthless. I will divorce you. In my past life, Shen Xiaoxing threatened me with divorce, and I was terrified. Afraid that Shen Xiaoxing would not want me, afraid of not receiving Shen Xiaoxing's love. in this life, I know that Shen Xiaosheng's love will never be given to me, only to Song Kuo. So what is there to hesitate about? After he finished speaking, I nodded without any hesitation. All right, let's get a divorce. I promised to divorce, which left Shen Xiaosheng in disbelief. He looked at me as if he had seen a ghost. Mu Nian, are you sure you want to divorce me? I'm sure, I nodded firmly. We'll go get divorced tomorrow, but before that, you need to return all my money. Is it all about money again? Have you drilled into the money hole? Is there only money in your eyes? Shen Xiaosheng asked me through gritted teeth. Yes, I only see money. Shen Xiaosheng couldn't believe that I really wanted to divorce him. You are simply unreasonable. I tell you, Mu Nian, don't think that just because you're pregnant you can do whatever you want. I'm not doing whatever I want. The child is not an obstacle. As long as you sign, I'll go to the hospital tomorrow to terminate the pregnancy. Seeing my determined expression, Shen Xiaosheng took a few steps back. Mu Nian, have you gone mad? You can actually say you don't want the child. My firm attitude towards divorce left Shen Xiaosheng stunned, and he angrily slammed the door as he left. He left and never came back, and I didn't care about him, just lay down and continued to rest. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of knocking on the door. Shen Xiaosheng's guard, Xiao Li, stood at the door with a grim face, saying, "The chief asked me to bring you breakfast." Seeing Xiao Li, I also had a sour expression and replied sharply, "Put it over there." Xiao Li placed the breakfast on the table, his gaze fixed on my face. I looked at him coldly and said, "What are you staring at? The delivery is done. You can leave now." I have always been kind to others and never put on airs, to the extent that Shen Xiaosheng's guards have always treated me like a soft persimmon, especially this Xiao Li. He is a fellow townsman of Song Kuo and has always been secretly targeting me alongside her. Seeing me suddenly so assertive, Xiao Li was taken aback, and then he became furious out of embarrassment. What kind of attitude is that? Last night, you drove the chief out to sleep in the office over jealousy, and today the chief is already in a bad mood, yet you still refuse to back down. Let me tell you, Mu Nian, it would be better for you to tone it down a bit, or you might just provoke the chief. When that happens, you won't be able to handle the consequences. Are you threatening me? Who do you think you are? Just a dog by Song Kuo's side, yet you act like you're important. I warn you to be polite to me. If you provoke me, I'll expose all the dirty dealings you and Song Kuo are involved in. As soon as I finished speaking, Xiao Li's face changed dramatically, and he hurriedly left without daring to say anything. Xiao Li's reaction surprised me. I only warned him because I remembered how he helped Song Kuo deal with me in my past life. But looking at Xiao Li's appearance, so flustered and scared, could it be that he really has some unspeakable dealings with Song Kuo? I secretly became vigilant. After having breakfast, I went to the office to find the leader, who told me that a colleague wanted my housing allocation quota. However, the other party currently doesn't have much money, so they can only offer me 4,000 yuan. I know that the house prices will rise in the future. 4,000 yuan is indeed too little, but I have no other choice. The house cannot be cheap for Song Kuo. I promised the other party and took 4,000 yuan to give my housing quota to them. Since I am going to divorce Shen Xiaosheng, it is impossible to continue living here. I have to quit my job. I think about the development in 30 years and secretly make a plan in my heart. I need to leave here and head south to do business, to be among the first to get rich, as I was planning in my heart. I quickly returned home and pushed open the door to find Song Kuo sitting in my living room. Seeing me, Song Kuo revealed a sarcastic smile. "Oh, the busy person has finally returned. Huh. What are you here for?" "Just came to see you." "Right, you got beaten up by Xiaosheng. Your face is bruised and bleeding. As your neighbor, I should come and check on you." "Right," Song Kuo said with a smile as she circled around me, in a low voice, fiercely. "Why don't you just go die? How dare you propose a divorce as a retreat? Do you dare to get divorced? If you dare to divorce Xiaosheng, the sun will rise from the west. Of course I dare to get divorced. But only if you return my money. Let me tell you, Song Kuo, I have no objection to you and Shen Xiaosheng having an affair. You can do whatever you want, but my money must be returned to me. What if I don't pay it back? If you don't pay it back, I'll report you and Shen Xiaoxing to the military district for your affair. I want to see how you two will manage here in the future. Song Kuo changed her expression. You dare? What do I have to be afraid of? Everyone knows about your and Shen Xiaoxing's relationship over the past 2 years. Shen Xiaoxing used his connections to bring you over as a secretary, and then gave you all the money from our family to spend. You used my money to buy home appliances, used my money to buy clothes and jewelry, living lavishly while the neighbors all saw it. As long as an investigation is organized, it will be clear as day about your sordid relationship with Shen Xiaoxing. Xiaoxing is helping me. Do you have no hands or feet? Are you a person with a disabled body on the brink of death? I sneered. There are many more people around you who need help. Why does Shen Xiaoxing only help you and not others? You two are a lonely man and woman, a thief and a prostitute. The eyes of the public are sharp, and everyone can see it clearly. Song Kuo was a bit scared. What exactly do you want to do? Do you know that this will ruin Xiaoxing? What does it have to do with me? I sneered at Song Kuo. I only give you 3 days. Return my money to me immediately, or all that awaits you and Shen Xiaoxing is disgrace. Song Kuo left in a fluster, throwing down a harsh remark for me to wait and see. I'm waiting, eagerly and passionately waiting. If I don't provoke her, how will she take action in advance? I'm waiting for Song Kuo's underhanded tactics. Let's see who dies faster this time. The next 2 days passed very quietly. Shen Xiaoxing stayed in the military dormitory and didn't come back. I know he's waiting for me to go find him to apologize and make up. Dream on. I don't have the time to care about him. I've been busy dealing with things. Since I have to part ways with Shen Xiaoxing, I naturally won't let Shen Xiaoxing and Song Kuo benefit from it. I've sold everything in the house that can be sold for money. Everything that couldn't be sold, I gave away. I gave the new clothes I bought for knitting a sweater for Shen Xiaoxing to Zhong's wife at the East End. She was very grateful and held me back to talk. Sister Zhong asked me, has Director Shen not come back these days? I nodded, and Sister Zhong looked at me with sympathy. Nyan Nyan, you are a good person. And good people are often bullied. There are some things I don't want to say, but I just don't want to see you being bullied like this. That Song Kuo is not a good person. You need to be careful. I know, I don't care anymore. They can do whatever they want. It has nothing to do with me. But you are pregnant. Even for the sake of the child in your belly, you need to think of yourself. Moreover, some things won't necessarily be resolved just because you keep enduring and compromising. Sister Zhong's words hit the nail on the head. Didn't I just keep enduring and compromising in my past life, only to be schemed against in the end? I nodded and said, Sister Zhong, thank you for the reminder. I will be careful. A cornered rabbit will bite, let alone a person. If they push me too hard, I won't let them off easily. Seeing that I was taking it in, Sister Zhong lowered her voice and said, you should pay attention to that little Li next to Director Shen. His relationship with Song Kuo is not normal. As soon as I heard this, I immediately asked, how can it not be normal? Sister Zhong, I won't hide it from you. That little Li is not a good person. He has been helping Song Kuo bully me because I am easy to talk to. Sister Zhong's expression became more serious when she heard me say this, and she lowered her voice. That little Li and Song Kuo are having an affair. I saw it with my own eyes. Sister Zhong's words made my heart skip a beat. I immediately thought of the day I told little Li that I would expose his and Song Kuo's secret dealings, and the startled expression on his face. So, is there really an improper relationship between little Li and Song Kuo? But doesn't Song Kuo like Shen Xiaoxing? Why did she get together with Xiao Li? I immediately asked Sister Zhong, how could Song Kuo be interested in Xiao Li? The guard, I thought she was always trying to flirt with Shen Xiaoxing. I don't know about that. But I'm not lying. When Song Kuo first came here, I saw Xiao Li come out of her house in the middle of the night, not just once, but several times. At that time, I thought they were dating, but later I found out that Song Kuo seems to have a crush on your chief Shen. Sister Zhong stopped at the right moment and said no more. I fell into deep thought. In my past life, Xiao Li always defended Song Kuo, constantly helping her twist the truth and bully me. Shen Xiaoxing doesn't believe me. Largely because Xiao Li is aiding the troublemaker. In my past life, I never understood why Xiao Li would twist the truth. I thought I treated him well, and now hearing Sister Zhong say this, Finally, there is a conclusion. It turns out that Xiao Li is also under Song Kua's skirt. Charging into battle for the woman he loves explains why Xiao Li would help Song Kua deal with me like that. Because of what Aunt Zhong said. I secretly became vigilant and paid more attention to Xiao Li and Song Kua. It turns out that not paying attention was not a big deal. Sure enough, I discovered a clue. Xiao Li actually sneaked over to Song Kua's house at night. I'm not sure if they're up to no good. But a man and a woman alone together in the dead of night can't mean anything good. Thinking about the helplessness I felt when they plotted against me in my past life, hatred began to grow within me. I want to make this pair of scoundrels pay. I took a basin and a stick from the house. I started banging on Song Kua's door, shouting as I knocked, "Catch the thief, hurry and catch the thief." The noise I was making in the middle of the night was really loud, and soon the neighbors around were all awake and came over to see what was going on. I pointed at Song Kua's house anxiously and said, "I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw someone sneaking into Comrade Song's house. It must be a thief. We can't let this thief get away." No one doubted my statement, especially when Sister Zhong immediately instructed Director Zhong to take people to block the windows at the back. The others followed me to crouch at the front door and make a fuss. After making a commotion for a while, the door finally opened. Song Kua and Xiao Li appeared in front of everyone. I deliberately raised my voice. "Oh, it's you, Xiao Li. What are you doing at Comrade Song's house in the middle of the night?" I have something to discuss with Comrade Song," Xiao Li stammered in response. "Something to discuss? What could be so important that it can't be said during the day and must be said at 2 in the morning? Yeah. What could be so important to discuss at this hour? You guys aren't." Sister Zhong raised her voice, and Song Kua immediately denied. "We have no relationship at all. It's just that Xiao Li is worried about my health and came to check on me." "Is this a joke? No one believes it," someone deliberately said. "Could it be that Comrade Song and Xiao Li are in a romantic relationship? Dating is a normal thing. There's no need to be sneaky about it." "No, we are not in a relationship." Song Kua glared at me with a resentful look, continuously denying any other relationship with Xiao Li. Xiao Li did not admit it either, insisting that he came to check on Song Kua out of concern for her well-being, fearing she might fall ill. It was only when Shen Xiaoxing arrived that the noisy crowd was dispersed. The onlookers dispersed at Shen Xiaoxing's command, and I lost interest in watching the commotion and prepared to leave, seeing her support arrive. Song Kua immediately started crying. "Xiaoxing, I am completely innocent with Xiao Li. He only came to deliver medicine out of concern for me. I never expected Comrade Mu would slander us like this." When Song Kua cried, Xiao Li also complained. Shen Xiaoxing scolded me with a dark face. "All you do all day is mess around. Why can't you do something serious? Do you know that what you're doing could drive someone to death?" I sneered. "I just saw someone sneaking around in the middle of the night heading into Comrade Song's house, and I was worried, so I called someone. Is that wrong? Besides, you have so many guards. Why is it that no one else sneaks into Comrade Song's house in the middle of the night, but only Xiao Li comes?" When I said this, both Xiao Li and Song Kua changed their expressions, and Shen Xiaoxing also showed a look of suspicion. He is not a fool, otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a high position. Seeing Shen Xiaoxing looking at them, Song Kua immediately fell to the ground and pretended to faint. She was then urgently sent to the hospital. I coldly laughed and turned back into the house. I had just seen clearly that Song Kua looked at me with extreme resentment. It goes without saying that she hated me deeply. She knew very well that I had exposed her relationship with Xiao Li, and that I was aware of their scandal. Not wanting her relationship with Xiao Li to be exposed, Song Kua had no choice but to find a way to cover it up. In order to eliminate me, her greatest threat, I believe Song Kua will soon take action. What I'm afraid of is that she won't move. It's much more fun to invite you into the trap. This morning, I got up to go to work, and everyone I met along the way was discussing the matter of Song Kua and Xiao Li. There were all kinds of comments. I arrived at work in a good mood, and my spirits were high all day. At noon, Shen Xiaoxing came to the office to find me and immediately started scolding me. "The matter from last night has been clarified. It was indeed Xiao Li who was worried about Kua having an episode. So he went to check on her. They have no relationship whatsoever. I scoffed. Whether they have a relationship or not has nothing to do with me. You don't need to come and tell me about it, do you? Of course. I didn't come here specifically to tell you this. Mu Nyen Nyen, you've been really out of line lately, haven't you? To target Kua. You even tried to slander her by suggesting she has an improper relationship with Xiao Li. Have you thought about how much damage this could do to a woman's reputation? I was so angry I laughed. When did I ever slander them? I just saw someone sneaking into Song Kua's house and thought it was a thief. If Xiao Li was really just worried about Song Kua and wanted to check on her, couldn't he just knock on the door openly? Why sneak around like a thief? Indeed, it is true love. Shen Xiaoxing is actually defending Song Kua. Xiao Li didn't want to disturb the neighbors. So he didn't knock on the door, but you, staying up late and watching Song Kua, what exactly are you trying to do? I warn you, I haven't settled the last incident with you yet, so don't create more trouble for me. You're so funny. I already said I thought it was a thief who shouted. I've explained it clearly enough. Are you unable to understand, or are you just looking for trouble on purpose? Shen Xiaoxing slammed the table in anger. What kind of attitude is that? Song Kua ended up in the hospital because of you, and you don't even realize your mistake. I'm not wrong. If I have to say there's a mistake, it's that marrying you was a mistake. Don't you want a divorce? I agreed to it. So let's get divorced now. You can be with whoever you want, but before the divorce, you must return my money. Shen Xiaoxing still thought I was the obedient Mu Nyen Nyen who only cared about him, and he actually glared at me with anger. I'm not going to indulge him. If he wants to make a scene, let's see whose face gets lost. I raised the volume and started shouting while wiping my tears. The money I've saved for years is meant for having a baby, and you gave it to Song Kua to buy appliances. You also took my salary last time without a word and gave it to Song Kua to buy clothes. And the time before that, you used my salary to buy cosmetics for Song Kua. My voice was loud to the extreme. And Shen Xiaoxing's face turned pale as he came to cover my mouth. I bit down on his hand, and he didn't expect me to actually bite him, causing him to let go and push me away in pain. I immediately lay down and started to make a scene. Didn't Shen Xiaoxing say that I was a shrew and unreasonable? Today, I will show him what an unreasonable shrew is like. I lay on the ground, making a huge fuss, exposing all the outrageous things Shen Xiaoxing had done. Shen Xiaoxing couldn't stay there any longer. He was also a person who cared about his reputation. He left with a face ashen with anger. My colleagues and leaders at work listened to the gossip for a long time and felt extremely sympathetic towards me. Several married women came to persuade me, and they subtly inquired about the matters between Shen Xiaoxing and Song Kua. In my past life, I was proud and endured bullying, swallowing my anger and feeling that family shame should not be aired. Not wanting others to look down on me. In this life, I don't want to continue with Shen Xiaoxing, so why should I cover for him? I spilled the beans about the situation between Song Kua and Shen Xiaoxing. I know that soon the news about Song Kua and Shen Xiaoxing will spread far and wide, with so many rumors flying around. I want to see if Song Kua will seek death or not. After work in the evening, Shen Xiaoxing surprisingly was at home. He bandaged the hand I bit. Sitting in the living room chair with a sullen face, I moved past him as if I hadn't seen him and went back to my room. Shen Xiaoxing had never been treated so coldly. Every time we argued, I would shamelessly go to make up within 2 hours. No matter whose fault it is, I always lower my head first. This time, I had a cold war with him for several days, and today I bit him without any intention of backing down. Shen Xiaoxing sat outside for quite a while and finally couldn't hold back. He pushed open the bedroom door and asked, "What are we having for dinner? Eat whatever you want. Why are you asking me?" I replied coldly, "What kind of attitude is that, Mu Nyen Nyen? I haven't even settled the score with you for biting me, so why are you making that face? Then how are you going to settle the score for hurting me?" I retorted. Shen Xiaoxing was choked up, looking at the injury on my forehead. He fell silent for a moment. "I didn't mean to. I've already apologized to you." I scoffed and turned my head. He stood at the door for a moment before patiently walking in. "Let me take you out to eat. What do you want to eat?" "What to eat? If you have money, hurry up and pay off your debts. You owe me quite a bit." I extended my hand. Shen Xiaoxing's forehead was bulging with veins. He wanted to explode in anger, but for some reason, he suppressed the rage in his heart. Nyan Nyan, I know you're angry with me for helping Song Kua. I didn't consider your feelings before. And that was my fault. I promise I won't do that again in the future. I looked at Shen Xiaoxing as if I were seeing a new continent. What do you mean? I've talked things over with Song Kua. From now on, she doesn't need to come to me for her matters. She can just find the security guards. She saved me before, and I've helped her find a job and done so much for her. So that's about enough. From now on, I won't interfere in her affairs, and we can just live our lives well. This sounds somewhat like human speech, but who knows the truth? Anyway, I don't believe it. Shen Xiaoxing pulled me up and said, let's go out for dinner. I know you need money, so from now on, I'll give you my salary. I don't know what he really wants to do. I've never seen such a gentle and considerate Shen Xiaoxing in my life. I was pulled out the door by Shen Xiaoxing to have dinner. On the way, I ran into Song Kua, whose eyes were red, when she saw Shen Xiaoxing and me. She stumbled as if the wind could blow her over, looking pitiful. Shen Xiaoxing didn't greet Song Kua warmly like before. Instead, he pretended not to see her and left directly with me. Not far from where we walked, I heard Song Kua's voice calling from behind. She seems to have fallen. Listening to Song Kua's painful cries, I silently counted numbers in my heart. When I finished counting to 3, Shen Xiaoxing turned his head. He rushed towards Song Kua without hesitation. Just like before, I laughed with a sense of relief. A dog can't change its nature. This saying is absolutely true. I didn't plan to have dinner. Instead, I went home alone. Shen Xiaoxing returned late at night. He tried to push open our bedroom door, but I had locked it. Shen Xiaoxing couldn't come in. So he went to the guest room. In the morning, when I got up, Shen Xiaoxing also got up and even bought breakfast. He smiled at me like nothing was wrong and said, I bought you your favorite fried dough sticks and soy milk. I sat down to eat breakfast with no expression, and Shen Xiaoxing tried to explain. Kua is in very poor health and is severely anemic. I put down my chopsticks and said, who are you trying to disgust so early in the morning? Shen Xiaoxing was shocked by my cold attitude. He moved his lips, and I quickly followed up. Don't talk to me about irrelevant people and things. I'm not interested. It affects my mood. Shen Xiaoxing wanted to explode in anger but held it back, even trying to explain to me. Nyan Nyan, I can't ignore her. She saved me. If it weren't for her, I would have died a long time ago. I owe her my life. I've heard too many unnutritious words like this. I put down my chopsticks. Who you choose to help is your business. I don't care. You don't need to keep bringing up the fact that you owe her a life. If it's really hard to choose, then offer yourself. I'm ready to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with you anytime, anywhere. I threw down this sentence and got up to leave. Shen Xiaoxing sat there watching my back. I had no idea what he was thinking. What he thinks has nothing to do with me. After all, before this, in my past life, I was neglected and abandoned by him like this. After work in the evening, Shen Xiaoxing came to pick me up from the office. He bought the groceries and personally cooked dinner, and it was only while cooking that he realized he was missing quite a few things. The pots, bowls, and pans that I bought are all gone, and what remains are all the ones that Shen Xiaoxing bought himself. He looked as if he had discovered a new continent. Nyan Nyan. It seems like we are missing quite a few things at home. Yes, there were too many things that I couldn't use, so I gave some away. Is that so? He didn't quite believe me. After all, the things I gave away were either new or nearly new. How could they possibly be useless? During dinner, we didn't say a word. Apart from the sound of bowls and chopsticks clinking, I kept my head down and remained silent the entire time. Shen Xiaoxing has been looking at me. I can feel his gaze. But I didn't respond much. Finally, he couldn't help but speak first. Nyan Nyan, why aren't you wearing your wedding ring? I leisurely drank half a bowl of soup before saying, I sold the wedding ring. Why did you sell it? Shen Xiaoxing asked in surprise. Why doesn't he know? I said with a half smile. Because I'm short on money. I have no money on me, and I need money, but no one is kind enough to give me money, so the only option for me, being short on cash, is to sell my wedding ring. My words left Shen Xiaoxing silent. He knew how much I treasured our wedding ring. After we got married, I kept reminding him to wear it, yet he always refused to wear it, citing inconvenience as the reason. All along, it has only been me, in a ridiculous one-sided manner. Wearing the wedding ring I prepared, I pushed aside the bowls and chopsticks, stood up, and prepared to return to my room. After taking a few steps, I heard Shen Xiaosheng's voice behind me. "Wait until my salary is paid, and I'll buy you a new ring." I scoffed and didn't turn back. He continued, "Song Kua is really too weak for the military. I've talked to her and plan to send her back to her hometown to work, so she can be closer to her parents and family for easier care." Shen Xiaosheng's words made me turn my head. Did she agree? Shen Xiaosheng nodded. She agreed. Song Kua is a reasonable person. She also feels that she has disturbed us too much and said she would find an opportunity to apologize to you and properly clarify things. I revealed an ambiguous smile upon hearing this, and Shen Xiaosheng continued, "Nyan Nyan, I really only have gratitude towards Song Kua. I have never had romantic feelings for her. If my previous help to her led you to misunderstand, I am very sorry. I apologize. Such things will not happen again in the future." I just smiled at Shen Xiaosheng, and he seemed a bit irritated by my gaze. "Nyan Nyan, she has already agreed to leave here. She will be busy with the handover in the next few days. She said she would find time to explain to you. I hope you can talk to her calmly. Song Kua actually wants to meet with me for a detailed discussion. That's a good thing. I have been waiting for this day for a very long time." I smiled and said, "Great. You tell Song Kua that I am at her service anytime, anywhere." Song Kua came to see me 3 days later. I can't wait to meet her. Song Kua still looked like a fragile thing that could be blown over by the wind, but once she closed the door and confirmed that it was just the two of us in the room, she immediately transformed into a different person. She glared at me fiercely. "Mu Nyan Nyan, you shameless woman. Are you feeling very proud now that you can finally drive me away?" "Of course. Watching you scurry away like a stray dog with your tail between your legs makes me very happy." As my words fell, Song Kua's face turned ashen. "You set me up, using the tactic of feigning retreat to force Xiao Sheng to send me away. You shameless bitch, I underestimated you." "You underestimate me not just in this regard. I have many things you don't know about. Do you want me to elaborate on them with you?" I smiled at her and said, "I know about your affair with Xiao Li. I know you have your eyes on Shen Xiaosheng and want to get close to him, and I know you plan to scheme against me. You must have prepared quite a few tricks for today, right?" "You, how do you know that?" Song Kua was taken aback by my honesty. Her previously domineering demeanor vanished in an instant, and she began to stutter while speaking. "How I know is none of your concern. Now let me guess what you're going to do next. You plan to fall and slander me. Little Li is already waiting outside. He intends to rush in as soon as you scream and then accuse me of hurting you." I smiled and walked up to the pale-faced Song Kua. "So hurry up and fall," while shouting for help. "I'm waiting for your performance." Song Kua didn't dare to move, staring at me in shock. I grabbed her hair and forcefully slammed her head against the nearby table. Song Kua opened her mouth to scream, but a rag was quickly and accurately stuffed into her mouth. I casually picked up the brick that had been prepared earlier and began to smash it against Song Kua's stomach, one blow after another. Didn't she slander me in her past life, pushing her to lose her uterus and become infertile? In this life, I will fulfill her wishes and let her have what she desires. I fiercely struck Song Kua's abdomen again and again. I saw her face twist and change color, and blood flowing from beneath her. It was only when I saw her fall into a real coma that I let go of Song Kua. Then I raised my voice and shouted, "Help, something has happened." Xiao Li was the first to rush in, and without even looking, he started shouting, "Intentional injury, how can you hurt comrade Song like this? You are too cruel." I looked at Xiao Li with a smile and said, "Stop dawdling, hurry and take her to the hospital. If you wait too long, she might not wake up after all. She has lost a lot of blood from the miscarriage, and she might lose her uterus." How do you know that?" Xiao Li was stunned. "You don't need to worry about how I know, just listen to me and take her to the hospital. If you wait too long, it could be fatal. You don't want people to find out that you are the father of the child in her belly, do you?" Xiao Li's face turned pale as he trembled and rushed to the hospital with the bleeding Song Kuo, and I followed him. Song Kuo was unable to keep her uterus, just like in the last life. It was removed. Throughout the process, Xiao Li stayed outside the operating room, his face pale. I sat with my hands in my lap, watching Xiao Li, and kept smiling. After several hours of surgery, Song Kuo was pushed out of the operating room in a coma. I asked Xiao Li with a smile, "Aren't you going to notify your leader? Given Song Kuo's situation right now, your leader must be anxious. How about I keep watch over Song Kuo while you personally go inform Shen Xiaosheng?" Xiao Li didn't dare to notify Shen Xiaosheng. He knelt down in front of me with a thud. I looked at Xiao Li coldly and said, "Now you know fear. Why didn't you know fear when you were having fun with Song Kuo? You thought you could frame me and turn the tables. Dream on." Xiao Li kept bowing his head, breaking it in the process. I coldly looked at this despicable and shameless thing. Watching him with a bleeding head, I slowly called to a halt. "Stop for a moment. What do you plan to do about this?" "I will let Kuo leave here. I promised to make her extinguish any thoughts of disturbing you and the chief forever. Is that so?" I laughed a few times. "No, how can you leave? Song Kuo cannot leave. Please, I beg you." Xiao Li continued to bow, and I waved my hand to stop him. "I have a way that can make your wishes come true." When I returned home, Shen Xiaosheng was still cooking in the kitchen. For the past 3 days, he seemed like a different person, cooking dinner every day. When I returned, Shen Xiaosheng smiled at me and said, "Wait for me for 2 minutes. The food will be ready soon." I poured myself a glass of water and drank it slowly. While Shen Xiaosheng was busy setting the table, he served me a large bowl of rice and said, "You should eat more. Pregnant people have a big appetite, and you'll need to eat 2 bowls in the future." I silently took the bowl and started eating. While Shen Xiaosheng attentively served me dishes, after silently eating more than half a bowl of rice, Shen Xiaosheng finally spoke up. Nyan Nyan, has Song Kuo come to find you?" "She has," I nodded. "What did you two talk about?" "We didn't talk about much." I continued eating. Shen Xiaosheng did not get the answer he wanted and indirectly asked me, "Did she say when she is leaving?" "You need to ask her that question." "I don't know." After I finished speaking, Shen Xiaosheng's expression became somewhat frozen. I continued to eat with my head down, knowing that Shen Xiaosheng must have looked for Song Kuo, but just couldn't find her. Naturally, if he couldn't find anyone, he wouldn't know what Song Kuo and I talked about. He was worried, which is why he came to me to probe. To be honest, he is really worried about Song Kuo. What a pity. I sighed inwardly as the sound of a car came from outside. Soon, Xiao Li rushed in and said, "Chief, something has happened. Comrade Song is in trouble." Shen Xiaosheng stood up, and I also put down my chopsticks and looked at Shen Xiaosheng. Shen Xiaosheng did not look at me. His gaze fell on Xiao Li. Looking at Xiao Li's injured forehead, Shen Xiaosheng's expression was extremely difficult to bear. "What happened?" Xiao Li dared not look at me, lowering his head and pretending to wipe away tears. "It's very serious. She had her uterus removed, and now she's in a coma at the hospital. Chief. Comrade Song, she is really too tragic." Shen Xiaosheng looked incredulous upon hearing Xiao Li's words. "How is that possible? How could this happen when everything was fine?" "Chief, you should hurry to the hospital." As soon as Xiao Li finished speaking, Shen Xiaosheng stepped forward. When he reached the door, I coughed, and he stopped in his tracks upon hearing my voice. "Nyan Nyan, I'm going to the hospital to see Song Kuo. I'll be back soon." I looked at Shen Xiaosheng and said slowly, "Shen Xiaosheng, have you thought this through?" "Nyan Nyan, this is not the time to act on impulse. Kuo is in trouble and unconscious. I must go see her and find out what happened." Since Shen Xiaosheng made his own decision, it was no longer something I could control. I nodded and no longer tried to stop him. Shen Xiaosheng left and did not come back. I calmly washed up and rested. Before going to bed, I checked my money. I only had 5,000 yuan. This amount of money is still quite short for doing business in the south. The next morning, I was startled awake from my dreams, and when I opened my eyes, Shen Xiaosheng was already at the edge of the bed. He grabbed my collar and lifted me off the bed. "You have such a cruel heart, Mu Nian Nian. How can you be so ruthless and shameless? Why are you doing this to Song Kuo? She is already prepared to leave. Why can't you just let her go? Shen Xiaoxing held my hand tightly, making it hard for me to breathe. I scratched at his hand a few times with all my strength, and only then did he let go of me in pain. Mu Nian, you have disappointed me too much. You have done such a heinous thing. Just wait to serve time in prison. I didn't say a word, just looked at Shen Xiaoxing indifferently, waiting for his outburst to subside before I asked him, "Don't you want to hear my explanation? What is there to explain? You did such terrible things to her, caused her such harm, and as a woman, don't you understand the pain of being unable to bear children? You make it impossible for me to forgive you." "Fine, then don't forgive me, Shen Xiaoxing. If I did something wrong, just throw me in jail. You are so stubborn. You are simply obstinate. Don't you feel even a shred of guilt or regret at this very moment? How innocent Song Kuo is." He yelled at me for quite a while until he was exhausted and finally stopped. "Mu Nian, what are you going to do now? What do you plan to do? Leave everything to the police to handle. Just hand it over to the police and you're done." "Mu Nian, this is a crime. You will be sentenced." "Sure, let them sentence me. I'm not afraid anyway. You are simply stubborn." Shen Xiaoxing angrily kicked over a chair. I coldly watched him as he hit the wall a few more times, waiting for him to speak first. In the last life, he was the one who actively proposed to divorce me. So it should be like this in this life. Sure enough, after venting his anger for a while, Shen Xiaoxing calmed down. Nian, I don't want you to go to jail. Do you understand? I don't want you to go to jail." I don't want to go to jail either." I nodded. "This time you were wrong. You must admit your mistake. Go sincerely apologize to Song Kuo, and then, just an apology." I asked. "Of course not. You hurt Song Kuo. This is a big deal. You can't just do nothing to make amends." "How do I make amends? You should go hide in the countryside for a while. I'll comfort Song Kuo first. You hide for a bit, and once I've calmed her down, I'll bring you back, just like in the last life." He didn't mention the divorce and asked me to sign an apology letter, telling me to return to the countryside to rest until everything was settled before coming back. I couldn't help but laugh. "Okay, I promise you." The apology letter from Shen Xiaoxing was quickly sent for me to sign. I knew it was the divorce agreement and signed my name without looking. Shen Xiaoxing breathed a sigh of relief after I signed. Nian, you pack up first, I'll take you away." I nodded. "I have no money. Can you give me my money back?" Shen Xiaoxing agreed. "I don't know where he got the money from. It should be borrowed. Anyway, that night he brought back 2,000 yuan for me. I tucked the money into my pocket for safekeeping, and on the day I left, Xiao Li sent me 3,000 again. This is the money that Song Kuo originally tricked from Shen Xiaoxing, which belongs to me. Now it has returned to its rightful owner, and I have accepted it without any burden." On the day I left, Shen Xiaoxing was supposed to personally see me off, but he cancelled at the last minute due to some urgent matter. That's fine. I had no intention of going back to his hometown to be a workhorse. Since the marriage has already been dissolved, the matter of the miscarriage has become much easier. I went to the hospital to terminate the unwanted pregnancy, and after a month of recovery, I took a train south with 10,000 yuan. The days spent struggling alone are both painful and joyful. Living for myself makes me give it my all. I am not afraid of hardship or exhaustion. All I want is to make money. After a year of hard work, I finally secured my own shop through my own efforts. I ran into someone I used to know while wholesale shopping, a distant cousin from Shen Xiaoxing's hometown. Shen Xiaoxing's distant cousin was very surprised to see me. Nian, what are you doing here? Do you know that Shen Xiaoxing has been looking for you for a long time?" I quietly looked at Shen Xiaoxing's distant cousin as she told me that Shen Xiaoxing's mother had an accident and was paralyzed, needing someone to take care of her. Then I called Shen Xiaoxing, and only then did he realize that I hadn't returned to his hometown. Shen Xiaoxing's distant cousin asked me, "Why did you go south to do business?" I smiled faintly. "Didn't Shen Xiaoxing tell you about this? You should ask him for more clarity." "What about your child? You must have given birth by now, right? I remember you were pregnant at that time, and Shen Xiaoxing also said you were several months pregnant when you left. The child is gone, it's no more." Shen Xiaoxing's cousin's eyes widened. I was busy greeting guests and didn't continue chatting with her. I didn't expect Shen Xiaoxing to find me. One night after work, he suddenly appeared. He was carrying a big bag and small packages, and called me affectionately like before, Nyan Nyan. I looked over indifferently, and he smiled. I heard you were here, Nyan Nyan. Why did you come here without saying a word? You made it hard for me to find you. What do you want from me? Aren't you married? You and Songkua are supposed to be in love for eternity. So why did you come to find me, confronted by me? Shun Xiaoxing's face turned red. He actually felt ashamed. Nyan Nyan, I didn't mean to deceive you. At that time, Songkua was in such a terrible situation. And she insisted it was your doing. I didn't want you to go to jail. For you and the child in your belly, I had no choice but to resort to this strategy, agreeing to divorce you and marry her. I never intended to marry her. It was just a temporary measure. I just didn't want to see you in jail or suffer. I couldn't help but laugh. Shun Xiaoxing, do you really think I would believe you? Do you still see me as that foolish person from before? Shun Xiaoxing's expression changed repeatedly as he humbly apologized for the first time. Nyan Nyan, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I really was wrong. Alright, if you came to admit your mistake, I've received it. Whether I accept it or not is not something you should be concerned about. You can go now. Nyan Nyan. I want to see our child. I bought a gift for the child. This made me laugh out loud, tears streaming down my face. Shun Xiaoxing looked at me in a daze. And I laughed for a long time, really finding it too ridiculous. Finally, I got tired of laughing. Shun Xiaoxing, where do you get the confidence that I would bear your illegitimate child? Shun Xiaoxing's face changed from red to white, which was quite amusing. I continued to laugh. You really think too highly of yourself. After divorcing me to marry your beloved Songkua, you expect me, kept in the dark, to bear your children and take care of your parents. Serving you as a lifelong servant, don't you think you're being shameless? I am not. You are this kind of person. Don't deny it. Otherwise, why would you marry Songkua? Why were you in such a hurry to send me away? Why did it take you more than a year after I left to think of contacting me? If you had even a little bit of conscience, you wouldn't have abandoned me while I was pregnant, right? Let me guess why you came to find me. Looking at you, it's clear that you haven't been doing well. After all, Chief Shen always goes out with bodyguards. Where is your loyal and good bodyguard, Xiao Li? Shun Xiaoxing was at a loss for words, and I continued to smile. You picked up a broken shoe that Xiao Li had played with and cherished it like a treasure. Now, are you facing the consequences? Do you know why you've fallen to this state? It's because I reported you. When I left a letter for your competitor. It's you. You actually reported me. Why? He actually has the face to ask me why. Shun Xiaoxing, do you think I left without knowing anything? Wrong. Everything was designed by me. At this point, I have nothing left to hide. I want to see the disgusting expression on Shun Xiaoxing's face when he learns the truth. I know that Xiao Li and Songkua want to harm me. I know that Xiao Li and Songkua are having an affair. I know that Songkua's initial act of saving you was fake. It was a joint deception by Xiao Li and Songkua, aimed at getting you to arrange a good job for Songkua. I didn't expect you to fall for Songkua's tricks, so they changed their minds at the last minute. Shun Xiaoxing's expression began to darken. I knew his heart was in agony. I know you have fallen for Songkua and that you, with your disgusting and filthy nature, have no right to hold a high position. So, I have prepared a great gift for you. Knowing that Songkua deceived you and that your position would be affected, you harmed Songkua and Xiao Li, leaving them crippled, and now you have lost your job. Anger and grievance filled my heart. Especially when I saw Songkua shamelessly leaning into Shun Xiaoxing's arms in front of me, provoking me. I was even more furious. Shun Xiaoxing's face turned pale with anger at my honesty. And I continued to smile and add fuel to the fire. Marrying a discarded shoe that no one wanted and treating it like a treasure, then losing the opportunity for promotion and wealth because of that shoe, and now dreaming of coming back to me, thinking I would bear your children. On what basis? Just because you have a big face. Shun Xiaoxing jumped up in a fit of rage wanting to hit me. But I wouldn't let him. He hit me. It's an assault. While shouting, she kicked him hard below the belt. Shun Xiaoxing bent down in pain, and the people around heard my cries for help and gathered around. I accused Shun Xiaoxing of harassment, and soon, Kind-hearted people took him to the police station. Once a person of high status, Shen Xiaoxing was once in the limelight, but now, in his fallen state, no one is indulgent towards him. He was fined, reprimanded, and detained for a night, and was released in a dejected state. He lost his job, lost everything. And now his mother at home is in trouble again. Shen Xiaoxing still wanted me to continue being his fool. He thought I loved him and would be deceived by his sweet words, but I have lived through a lifetime. How could I possibly jump into the fire pit again? Shen Xiaoxing did not leave, he stayed here. And seeing that my business was doing well, he was still calculating how to win me back. As a result, heaven could not stand it any longer, and on a rainy night, he was run over by a car. Breaking both his legs, Shen Xiaoxing became disabled and would spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. This is his retribution. He had once sought help from others to arrange for me to meet him. I refused. I have already seen his fate, and I am quite satisfied. There is no need to disgust myself again. From now on, I will walk my own path of flowers, and he will live his life of poverty and despair. That is just fine.